I've been holding back because of you, wanting a child. You're defective. These hurtful words were hurled at me by my husband of 20 years. I realized then that I could no longer continue with this man. He was already lost in thoughts of a new marriage. I believe God must have been watching his devilish deeds. That's why something like that happened to him. My name is Anna, I'm 45 years old. I work as an office assistant at a law firm. I've been married to my husband, Kyle, for nearly 20 years. We've lived a modest life together. We always wanted children, but it wasn't to be. The problem seemed to be more on my side. I worked while undergoing treatments, exhausting both my mind and finances, but to no avail. When I turned 40, I gave up. Kyle wanted children until the end and urged me to continue the treatments, but I had reached my limit. The pain, the dwindling finances. I was afraid of our situation. After all, they say you need $200,000 for retirement, and it seemed wasteful to spend more on treatments. Let's stop the treatments and just live, the two of us. We can save money, maybe even enjoy some luxurious trips, I suggested. Kyle agreed, albeit reluctantly. We decided to enjoy our life together. Yet, I felt a complex pang in my heart whenever I saw pictures of children on TV shows or New Year's cards. Even now, 5 years after stopping the treatments, I still carry a sense of guilt for not being able to have children. Then, one day, I decided to attend my high school reunion, which I hadn't been to in about 10 years. Kyle told me to take a break and enjoy, so I decided to stay overnight near the venue. It felt like a mini vacation. Come to think of it, I hadn't gone out alone much since getting married. I was always overwhelmed with infertility treatments. I thought a little luxury wouldn't hurt. At the venue, I enjoyed catching up with old friends. Anna! Long time no see, how are you? Have you lost weight? Indeed, I had lost about 22 pounds over the last decade. I'm envious. After having kids, I gained 33 pounds, a friend said casually, which stung me a little. Do you have kids, Anna? No, we couldn't have any. Just living with my husband. Oh, I'm sorry for asking such a strange question. No, it's okay. Let's have fun. I made sure to keep the mood light and cheerful. By the way, my son almost got scammed in a marriage fraud recently. Scammed? I was taken aback by my classmate's words. Yes. He was asked to lend her $20,000 even before they got married. And what happened? He couldn't pay that much, so he came to us, and that's how we found out. In the end, the woman disappeared. That's a scary story. There are some unbelievable women out there. Really terrifying. Marriage fraud, huh? I was a bit shocked that such a thing could happen so close to home. That son is now with a new girlfriend, and his parents seem relieved. The reunion went smoothly and eventually came to a close. I didn't go to the after party but returned to my hotel, enjoying a drink alone. I realized I hadn't contacted my husband. It's still only 10 p.m., he should be awake. I called home, but no matter how much I rang, Kyle didn't answer. Maybe he's already asleep. Well, I'll be home tomorrow anyway, so it should be fine. But I had a bad feeling, a kind of woman's intuition. An uneasy premonition. After that, Kyle started coming home extremely late on weekdays. And he began to come home drunk every night. Hey, I'm home. Are you okay drinking so much and coming home like that? Kyle, drunk, would sprawl out in the living room and yell, "Shut up. It's the master of the house returning. Show some respect." How could I respect such a disheveled state? I picked up his socks and shirt he threw off, thinking to myself how absurd this was. Joy was so cute. If only you were younger like Joy. He said things like that. Who's Joy? What does he mean by if you were younger? I wanted to question him, but he was already fast asleep. Could he be having an affair? The unease I felt that day now seemed to be approaching the truth. No, Kyle is a straightforward man. He wouldn't do something like that. It must be just drunken nonsense. I tried to convince myself of that. However, on weekends, Kyle would leave early in the morning and come home late at night. "I'm going out for a bit. Take care." And as usual, he'd come back drunk. I had to speak up, seeing this happen every week. "You've been drinking almost every day recently. Is it okay to spend that much money?" "Shut up. It's my money. I can do what I want with it. It's from my savings before we got married. But we need to save for our retirement, or we'll be in trouble later." "You save then." I spent a lot on the treatments. "That's because you're defective." Even if he was drunk, it was cruel to say that. I was beginning to notice the changes in my husband. Had I become self-deprecating since stopping the treatments? His derogatory comments towards me were increasing. "If you can't have children, at least show me some love." Hearing my husband's selfish actions and wasteful spending, I felt my love for him diminish. He used to be so kind, comforting me through the difficult times of our treatment. Will that husband ever come back? What even is marriage, I wonder, after 20 years? But then, things suddenly started moving. "Anna, we need to talk." Coming home from work, I found Kyle sitting on the living room sofa with a serious look. "What's up? You're so formal." "I want a divorce." "Are you joking? What are you saying all of a sudden?" I never dreamed Kyle would consider divorce. I knew we needed to rethink our relationship, but divorce had never crossed my mind. Had he been thinking about it before me? "A divorce, what's going on?" I demanded an explanation. "We've been married for 20 years, right? Let's discuss this properly." But he looked at me with contempt. "You really are clueless." Kyle sighed heavily and glared at me. "What do you mean?" "For 20 years, I've always wanted children. I was deprived of that because I ended up with someone defective like you. Have you ever considered my feelings?" He said arrogantly, tapping on the table. "That's not true. We decided to stop the treatments together. I never agreed to it. I've always wanted children." Why didn't he talk about it? I felt so sad and frustrated, tears were about to spill. "Just sign the divorce papers quietly, and I won't say anything more." He pushed the divorce papers across the table. "I've actually already decided to remarry." "Remarry?" "Yeah, with a 20-year-old girlfriend." "Girlfriend? What do you mean? Were you cheating?" "No way. I'm going to register the marriage right after our divorce," he said proudly. A 20-year-old woman marrying Kyle? Impossible. Joy is kind and cute, the ideal wife. Not like you. The name Kyle mentioned that day. A woman's intuition is not to be underestimated. I was a bit impressed with myself. Not that it was a time to be impressed. Kyle then showed me a photo of his cute Joy. Looking at it, I almost burst out laughing. "You've got to be kidding me." I couldn't believe this was happening. "What's wrong?" Kyle noticed my reaction. But I quickly regained my composure. It felt too soon to reveal everything, so I put on a solemn face. "So, you really want children that much?" "That's right, you can't have children. There's no choice, right? You'll agree to the divorce, won't you?" "Yes, I guess it can't be helped." I put on a slightly exaggerated, sad face. Indeed, I was saddened when he first mentioned divorce. But, disgusted by his foolishness, I quickly felt that divorcing him was the right decision. It's better to part ways with such a person sooner rather than later. I felt as if even God was suggesting this, so I signed the divorce papers and left him. He'll probably regret it soon. Well, I'll just watch and see. About a year after the divorce, it happened. "Anna, help me." A shabby man approached me on my way home from work. "Excuse me, who are you?" I was genuinely confused, not recognizing him. "It's me, Anna, I need your help." It was my husband. In terms of legal status, he's a stranger now, so I guess ex-husband is the term.
Long time no see.
I couldn't hide my surprise at his transformation. His cheeks were sunken, and he was dressed shabbily. Please, introduce me to a lawyer from your company. That's a bit sudden. He apparently was in financial trouble, judging by his appearance. It was hard to believe he had changed so much in just a year. The first consultation is free. Free? But if you hire them, you'll have to pay a fee. I don't have that kind of money. Please, help me. What happened? I reluctantly agreed to listen to his story at a nearby cafe. Actually. Before he could start, I spoke up. Were you ditched by a woman named Joy? How did you know? Just as I thought. He had shown me a photo of a woman named Joy, and it clicked. The woman in the photo resembled the one who scammed my old friend's son, as discussed at the reunion. The friend had said, "This woman, I can't forgive her," and showed her photo to many people as a warning. I think her name was Amy, and she was about 22 years old. Probably, her age and name were both fake. That makes sense. A scammer wouldn't use their real name. You knew about Joy? Well, kind of, so what happened? As I heard the detailed story from Kyle, this was the situation. They met at the nightclub 1 year ago. Desperate for children, he often mentioned this in conversation. Then Joy suggested, "I can have children for you." Their relationship gradually deepened. He visited the club daily on weekdays and went on dates outside the club on weekends, ending up at the club again. Living that way, he had spent $10K from his savings before marriage. But Joy was so kind. She never asked for expensive things on dates outside the club, and was happy just drinking at the club. She was different from the malicious hostesses you often hear about. She said she didn't need high-brand goods or jewels, just happy with me spending money at the club. She was a hard-working and serious girl. We never intervened our savings from before we were married, so I had no idea about this. Well, it was his money, and he could use it as he liked, but I never imagined he would spend so much. Then Joy showed her true nature. I want to marry you, but I have a debt. I need to pay it off, about $20,000. Kyle promised to cover Joy's debt and transferred the money. They had started living together right after our divorce, but Joy worked nights and rarely came home. She eventually quit her job and disappeared. Of course, she took the money and ran. I can't believe how foolish he was. I feel embarrassed that I was married to such a person for 20 years. Did you have a loan agreement? A loan agreement? When I asked, my ex-husband looked confused. You lent her the money, didn't you? Didn't you make an agreement? We were going to be married, so no, we didn't make one. Then, isn't it like you gave her the money? Is that so? In this case, it's like you generously gave Joy $20,000. She must have been quite the expert. For gifts, if the amount exceeds $10,000 in a year, gift tax is applicable. Since Joy took only cash and not items, and the money was split over 2 years, she avoided exceeding the $10,000 limit and thus evaded the tax. My ex-husband thought she was a good girl for not asking for items, but she was just well-versed in the law. What should I do now? Well, you could consult a lawyer, but it will cost you. Hearing this, my ex-husband slumped his shoulders. I've used up my savings, and the woman I loved ran away. I can't even tell my company that the marriage is off, after boasting about getting a young wife. It's his own fault, but I didn't say anything to my pitiful ex-husband. Anna, I was wrong. Please come back. I realized it after you were gone. You were the only one who cared for me. I don't need children anymore. I'll let you do what you like. You must have been lonely, right? Does he still misunderstand that I love him? It was over for me half a year ago. So I confronted him with reality. Look, it's been a year. Isn't it too late for that? Anna, are you going to abandon me? Didn't you start the breakup? Anna, you're the only one I can rely on. He looked exhausted. I decided to show a little pity. Fine. Should I call a lawyer I know? Anna, thank you. You still care for me. He was moved to tears. Then Richard, a lawyer from my company, arrived at the cafe. Richard, over here. Anna, who is this? He's an acquaintance. Seems to be in some trouble.
Is that so? Nice to meet you. I'm Richard Smith.
My ex-husband looked confused by our seemingly intimate interaction. We've been dating for 6 months now. By the way, what was the consultation about? As I said this, he looked completely dazed. No, I think I'll leave it at that for today. Suddenly coming to his senses, he said this and hurried away. In the end, he couldn't afford a lawyer and had to just accept his fate. At his company, rumors spread that he was ditched by his fiancée and even his ex-wife wouldn't deal with him. It's a small world. I never imagined someone from his company was in that cafe, listening to our conversation from beginning to end. I heard through the grapevine that my ex-husband, afraid of spending his old age alone, is desperately engaged in matchmaking now. What was that about? Richard asked me later. I told him everything. Sorry for the trouble. Actually. So, that's what happened. You've had it tough. The story about me dating Richard was a complete fabrication. I had asked him to play along. Thank you for everything. It's okay, I'm glad I could help. Do you have plans after this? If it's all right with you, how about dinner? I never expected such a turn of events and was flustered. A fresh start in my mid-40s. Not a bad beginning.
Yes, I'd love to.
A fun future surely awaits us. I just couldn't shake that feeling.